Hey guys, and welcome to another video in the Frsky series. And today's topic is throttle cut. As you can see, I'm on my X20S radio instead of my regular Tandem XE radio. I think I dropped that other radio like one too many times and the antenna casing broke, so I want to get that fixed. But in the interim, I started using this radio. First thing is this radio doesn't have as many switches as the XE, and even one less because this switch has been broken for a while. And I have that on order as well. But anyways, I didn't like, before I used to use this button for throttle cut. I didn't like that because, I want to use these switches for other things. This is a perfect gear up and down switch. And the other switches on this radio, like, there's just not as many. So I wanted to do an out-of-the-way switch that, I could use for throttle cut that didn't affect anything else. And I found something kind of cool. So what I did was this. So on the back of this radio, there are two switches. And you can use them, they're momentary switches, and you can use them for anything you want. What I did was I set it up so that when you hit both of them at the same time,
throttle active, throttle cut,
it toggles between throttle cut and throttle active. So it's kind of nice. And what really is nice about this setup is when you turn off the radio or when you switch models to another model, when you come back to this, it'll always revert back to throttle cut. So when you first start it up, it'll always be in throttle cut, which is very, very nice. So anyways, we're going to go through the process of setting this up. This is a relatively easy setup, but if you don't understand logical switches, this is kind of a good primer for it. So this uses logical switches. Let's go ahead and set this up. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the model select page. And on the model select page, I'm going to go ahead and choose, let's go to uncategorized, to cut test, throttle cut test. Set current
switch
model.
warning,
Okay, in this model, this is a model that is blank, it's got nothing in it. But we're going to go ahead and work with logical switches. So I'm going to go to model, which is the same thing as hitting that button over there, but I'm hitting the model button over here. I'm going to jog forward until I get to logical switches. Now, what a logical switch is, so this is logical switch 1 that I'm creating right now. And you can think of a logical switch as instead of a switch that you press a button and it activates, you're pressing the button by doing a certain function. So for example, in this particular case, A is around, well, that's what that symbol means, X. So what that means is if, for example, I set it to 50%, or 0 or whatever, when the slider is around that value, it'll turn on that switch. And that's what a logical switch is. It's just different versions of turning on that switch virtually. So let's go ahead and create a logical switch. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name it. And I'm going to call this one, let's call it 4. Whoops. Let's go 4 T-cut. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so it's called 4T cut, and the reason why I call it that is it's for the throttle cut logical switch. We've got to do a logical switch inside a logical switch for this to work. Now, instead of using the back buttons, I'm going to use the function switches over here for my throttle cut. I'll maybe choose these bottom two, so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see instead of me turning up the radio upside down and all that stuff. So the function that I want is AND, because what I'm going to do is going to make it so that when you hit this button and this button at the same time, it'll activate this logical switch. There it is, and the first button is this one. And by the way, in order to use these function switches for this purpose, they got to be set to momentary mode. And value number 2, let's do this function switch. Now, I've got function switch 3 and function switch 6, so that when I hit it, so if you look up here, you can tell this is, the switch is right now red. When it turns green, that means it's active. So I hit this button, doesn't do anything, hit this button, doesn't do anything, hit both of them at the same time, then it works. So the only thing I want to add is this. I want to add a delay before active of 1 second. So in other words, I have to hit this button, or these two buttons, for at least 1 second before it activates. So if you check this out over here, there it goes. But as soon as I let go, then it goes back off, right? So it's only when I press those buttons. So what I need to do is take this switch that I have set up and put it into another logical switch that will make it so that even like as soon as I hit it, it'll turn on and it'll stay on and when I let go of the button. So that's a sticky switch. I'm gonna go over here to add, and let's call this one T cut. And function is going to be a sticky switch. And trigger on and off will be the same switch. So instead of putting a switch in here, I'm going to do the function or the logical switch. And it's the 4T cut logical switch. Next one, the trigger off command will be the same switch. So I'll go over here to logical switch. There it is. So now you can see right now it's active. Its logical switch 2 is on. I hit and hold. Now it's off. On and off. Okay, so now I just take this and put it into my throttle cut. So I'm going to go over here to Mixer, go to Throttle, go to Edit, and go down to Throttle Cut. Let's turn on that menu. And active condition will be logical switch. And I want the T cut, not the 4T cut. Okay, so now it works. But what I want is for the throttle cut to happen when I first turn this on, because remember this toggle switch, it'll be on and off. So what I want is I want this to happen when I turn the radio on or switch models. I want it to be throttle cut on. So the way that you do that, since a switch defaults when you first turn on a model, a switch will default off, that logical switch. I want to do an invert of this. So when the switch is off, hit and hold down, I want it. So I want the invert function. So now the exclamation point T cut means invert. So in other words, when the switch is off, it'll activate throttle cut, and when the switch is on, so it's just a backwards. So let's try it now. There it is. There's on and there's off. So we've got that done. The only thing we have to do now is do some call out so we can hear it. I'm going to go over here to special functions. So if you want to do voices, this is where you do it. You come over here, you go to play audio. So I just created a new special function. I added one, and then enable it, active condition. So when do you want it to happen? I want it to happen when the logical switch T cut turns on. So when it turns on, this is throttle cut. This is off. So this is throttle active. Remember, because we inverted it in the other menu. So my throttle active is actually in my custom voice. And let's go ahead and play file. And I'm going to come down here to throttle active. Okay. Then I create another one. Add. And play audio. And active condition will be the same switch, but backwards. And to backwards it, I just hit and hold down and invert. Oops. There it is. Okay, and voice 1. Yeah, that's correct. And I come here, add a new line in the sequence, play file, and the file that I want to play is throttle cut. Okay, let's see if I got that backwards. Let's go to the mix, go over to the throttle so we can see it. Right now, throttle is cut. I hit and hold down.
Throttle active.
There it is, throttle cut.
Throttle active.
Oh, so I do it, the throttle cut doesn't work. The only reason why, I believe, is I forgot to enable it. So let's go to special functions. It's the throttle cut one. This one, yeah, see how it says state disabled? I didn't enable it. So edit and enable.
Throttle cut.
There it goes. Okay. So that's it. So let's, just to show you, I'm going to go ahead and go back into models, go into the mixer, so we can see that throttle cut happened. There it is. So right now it's throttle cut. Let's enable it.
Throttle active.
So right now throttle is active. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go to a model select. I'm going to choose a different model. So let's go over here to Warbirds. Choose this one, set current.
Switch warning.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to that model. It's like turning off and on again. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, either turning off and on your radio or changing models.
Switch warning. Throttle cut.
Throttle cut. So it starts in the throttle cut position every single time you turn your radio on. This is awesome, and I think it's going to work really, really nicely. And just to confirm, there it is, throttle cut, throttle active.
Throttle active.
And by the way, if you guys don't know, one of the cool things that they have set up that's already predefined in your throttle cut is this. Your throttle cut is on.
Throttle cut.
Crank up your thing. See how the red line's at the bottom? That means you've got 0. It's not, it's actually at 0. So no matter the position of your stick, it's at 0. If I was to activate,
throttle active,
it does not activate that throttle until you go down and go back up. So it's a nice safety feature that if you inadvertently turn off your throttle cut and you're already up, you know, that's actually a safety thing that they do. I didn't do that. That was already part of the throttle cut setup. Anyways, that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. If you have any questions, you can comment in this video or email me at all.rc.air@gmail.com. And I usually get back to you guys. If it's something that interests me, I might make a video on it. Thank you very much and have a good day. Take care, guys.